Can you give...
I'm not resisting.
Take your hand out.
Why am I under arrest? I'm just doing my job.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Today in Richmond Hill, Rebel News reporter David Menzies attempted to approach Chrystia Freeland and ask her a question, but he got more than he bargained for.
Let's take a look.
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault.
What, sir?
Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Who are you?
You're under arrest for assault.
What are you talking about? Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me.
You pushed into me.
You bumped. I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into me. So excuse
Police,
me.
you're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge? What is your name and your badge?
You've been told you're under arrest.
Why am I under arrest? He blocked my way.
Okay. So that was interesting. Now, if you followed Rebel News or if you followed David Menzies, you know that he can be a little provocative. You know that he can sometimes be in places where he's not necessarily supposed to be.
Or not necessarily welcome.
Right. But he does so in order to try to get a headline and get some attention, right? So that's fine. Some people like it, some people don't. You don't have to like Rebel News. You don't have to hate Rebel News to see something is wrong with this picture. So, number one, there is a certain freedom of the press that is allowed in Canada. And in this case, David Menzies, member of Rebel News, is walking up next to Chrystia Freeland, and she has probably one of her aides next to her, walking on a public sidewalk, and he's just asking her questions, not causing any issue. And then something odd happened. The aide, who was to Chrystia Freeland's left, accelerated, crossed in front of her and Menzies. That forced Menzies to step to his left.
More towards Freeland.
And then he was, because he's turned his body, he's now completely focused on Freeland. And they're walking forward. And then he bumps into a gentleman that is dressed in street clothes, a suit, but street clothes nonetheless. And then immediately, that gentleman grabs Menzies, pulls him around this pillar, and then tells him he's under arrest for assaulting him. Let's just take a bit of a look here. So here comes Freeland, and you see the lady to the right accelerate. Okay, so now she's in front of Freeland. Menzies has to move. Now you see the gentleman enter the frame, and he was to the left of the pillar. Okay? You can see that's where his arm is. He then steps into Menzies with his arm out, because you can see his arm right there. And his arm swings back. Watch. And at that point, Freeland then takes an immediate right turn and walks out of the situation. Meanwhile, her blocker is still sitting there with a half smirk on her face. And then off they go. Right? So let's watch that again. So he's running interference there. If you've played sports, that's called a pick and roll. So what that means is when you're on offense, so imagine Chrystia Freeland, her buddy, and the security police officer here, they're on kind of offense, and Menzies is playing defense. So what that means is that you deliberately send somebody into a interfering position to block the defender in order for the person that's on offense to actually skirt around them. And we were going to play a video with Larry Bird, but we didn't want to get in trouble with
YouTube.
with YouTube for that. But what they basically describe is, the blocker takes a very stationary position, elbows out, which is what Mr. Police Officer had, and allows the person to literally just walk into them.
You know what? Maybe we'll link that video with Larry Bird in the description. That way you can go and see it if you want to see how this actually works when you're playing basketball.
So, is this assault? I don't think so. But here's the other thing. We'll rewind this back a little bit. Now, we've all had a close call with somebody, and usually you both turn your shoulders to get by each other, right? It's polite. It's what you do. Mr. Police Officer turned himself the opposite way. The complete opposite way.
So he turned himself into David Menzies instead of turning away.
Right.
Well, and he already had his hand outstretched as Menzies was coming towards him.
In order to force him to make contact. 100%, Fox. The response from said police officer is, "You assaulted me. You're under arrest."
Which, in and of itself, is incorrect. The criminal code states that police officers, even plainclothes officers, must identify themselves as police officers before placing you under arrest.
So, specifically to that, let's take a look at something. So, this is from a law firm website called Collette Reed LLP, Criminal Lawyers. Do police have to identify themselves in Canada? If a police officer is in plain clothes, they must tell you they are a police officer before trying to arrest, detain, or search you. If a police officer is uniformed, they do not have to tell you they are a police officer, but if you ask, they must provide their name and badge number. Keep that in mind. So, first thing is, if they're in plain clothes, they must tell you they're a police officer before trying to arrest, detain, or search you. And second, they have to provide their name and badge number if you ask for it. Now, let's watch this video one more time.
IRGC is not a terrorist group. Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault.
What, sir?
Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Who are you?
You're under arrest for assault. Police.
Okay. He said you're under arrest for assault at least 3 times.
Without identifying himself as a police officer. Now, there were some officers there. You can clearly see it says police on their vests. But that guy was not one of them. That was a plainclothes cop.
Correct. And Menzies asked at least a couple times, who are you? Who are you? And then he finally says, the police. Let's continue.
Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. You bumped. I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into me. So excuse me.
Police, you're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge? What is your name and your badge?
You've been told you're under arrest.
Why am I under arrest?
Come on over here.
Does not provide his name. Does not provide his badge number. His second plainclothes colleague interrupts his question and just says, well, just come here. You're under arrest.
That's not right.
No, it's not. It is absolutely not right. This is the issue here. You don't have to like Rebel News.
You don't have to like police officers. You could love police officers. You could love Rebel News. None of that matters. What matters is that this interaction was incorrect.
Right. And just because the Liberals don't like Rebel News doesn't give them the right to arrest them. And here's the other thing. People who know sports understand what is called a set play. A set play, for those that don't know, is something that is predetermined. So in a certain situation, someone can give a signal, call an audible, say a code word, and everybody on the field, on the ice, whatever sport it is, knows exactly what's going to happen next because you practiced it. So the fact that Menzies and Freeland and her aide were walking forward, the aide looks up probably sees some sort of signal from the police officer, accelerates, and then this play carries out. Everyone knew what was going to happen. So this is very, very concerning when it comes to the non-government funded media in this country. Like this was a unwarranted arrest. You could even say entrapment. I'm sorry, but I don't think any realistic and unbiased judge would call that assault. Never mind the fact that this police officer did not uphold their responsibilities by identifying themselves as a police officer, prying to try and arrest and detain him, and not providing his badge number when Menzies was asking him. He looked at him and paused. He knew exactly what he was asking. Didn't want to do it. And then his buddy comes in and starts talking to him, trying to distract Menzies by saying, well, you're under arrest. Let's continue a little bit more.
Was asking questions aggressively?
No, your actions were. You were almost pushing everybody over. That's how it appears.
Lincoln, you got this on video, right? He's saying I'm pushing people over. That's an absolute falsehood.
There were feet were shuffling.
So now it appeared that way. That's what you're saying, officer. It appeared I was pushing people. I didn't touch a single person.
That was a little bit aggressive for what was happening. Get that. You're under arrest. Please take the microphone out of my face.
Well, I'd like an ongoing record of this.
Can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone?
Don't resist.
Can you give?
I'm not resisting. Take your hand out. Why am I under arrest? I'm just doing my job.
But here's the scary thing. Like, Menzies was just approaching Freeland. He wasn't touching her. You could argue maybe he was a little bit in her personal space, but as far as I know, that's not a crime. And he was trying to ask her a question, and he didn't do anything wrong from what we could see. And he's being arrested for trying to get the story, trying to get the truth.
And what's the problem? What is the problem with having a reporter walk with you, trying to ask you questions, and just saying no comment? It happens all the time. All the time.
Ask celebrities.
You may not like it, but guess what? Then don't sign up for a public position. Don't sign up to be deputy prime minister. Because you're going to have to talk to reporters. You're going to have reporters asking you questions. If this police officer thought this was aggressive, he should have been in the lobby when all of those reporters were literally running after Marco Mendicino. Remember that?
I remember that.
Today, and I'll be happy to take more questions.
How is it? And we have questions.
That was a good time.
That was a good time. I'm sorry, but I'll call a spade a spade. I haven't liked some of David Menzies' work, but this was not his fault. 100%. This is unacceptable, and every Canadian should be concerned at what happened right now. And, Rebel News should be really seriously looking into their legal rights in this specific scenario. I wouldn't be dropping this one.
But you know what's really concerning about all of this? Can you imagine if it wasn't being recorded?
Right? That is the thing to consider, everybody. That's the only thing that's going to save David Menzies in this situation. Otherwise it would be him
versus all those police officers.
Versus all the police officers. Who do you think would win in that scenario?